The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
It is Election Day 2012, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to everyone watching live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, like every Monday through Thursday. This is the day, Lewis. This is it. We may be mere hours away or months from knowing the results of the 2012 election.
I'm predicting countless recounts.
Countless recounts. We might have to have a recount of the number of recounts done. There might be so many.
Anything's possible.
Welcome to everybody watching from the Facebook pages. We survive Bush, you'll survive Obama. Also, I love it when I wake up in the morning and Barack Obama is president. Not clear whether that's something we'll be able to say. After January, we will see, Lewis. We will see.
Indeed.
I know a lot of people wondering, did Lewis vote? Controversy for months, for years, over did Lewis vote? Will he vote? Will he vote for Elizabeth Warren or Scott Brown if he votes? Will he vote for President Obama or Mitt Romney? Or will he no vote? Or will he vote for himself or for me? Or for his cat, his parents' cat, in the interests of accuracy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am surprised to say, I think, surprise is the main thing, that Lewis did vote today. And I was there with him. We filmed it. Let's go to the audio and video of that, Lewis, right away, please, with no delay.
All right, it's election day. It's early in the morning. It's freezing. It's about 20-something degrees. We're here at Lewis's house. I've already voted today. This is Lewis's big day. He's voting. It's happening. I hope he's awake. Let's try to wake him up if he's not. Here we go. Lewis, it's voting day. Big day today. Big day for Lewis. Come on, Lewis. Lewis. You know what day it is. You're doing it, right?
I'm ready.
What do you got there, tea?
Yeah, I got like 2 hours of sleep. I'm not doing good.
All right, it's a great start to election day.
Cheers.
I'm locked out. All right, we're going to vote. I know it's early for you, Lewis. Oh,
it is.
Do you have a cold now?
No, just my room's really dry.
Oh, you need a humidifier in there.
Yeah, I can't really sleep with those things. Either they don't work, or the ones that do work have a fan that's too loud.
So do you already know how you're going to vote on each question?
Oh yeah.
So we're going Obama.
Well, yeah, of course.
And you're going with Elizabeth Warren.
Yes.
What about the questions? Like, are you voting for decriminalization, or rather medical marijuana?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you voting for physician-assisted suicide?
I am.
And are you voting for the right to repair vehicles, or the repair equality thing?
Yes on all three.
Wow. So this is a very progressive vote.
Of course. We're moving forward. I hope I don't need my birth certificate or an ID or anything like that.
You don't have your ID?
I don't have my voter ID.
You need a voter ID. Could be voter fraud. Were you undecided up until the last minute? Or is this, like, for example, is this a legitimate vote? Or otherwise I hear the election officials have a way of shutting the whole thing down.
I was actually considering voting for myself for president, but, you know, I'm taking everything else seriously. I might as well just go all the way.
Do you have a sense of voting booth etiquette? In other words, do you know what is and isn't appropriate?
Like, do not flatulate audibly in the voting booth.
That's a good example.
I think I can manage that.
All right.
All right, we're approaching our grammar school.
Yeah, this is actually Lewis's voting place. Is our elementary school, the site of Lewis getting numerous detentions, suspensions, and reprimands of all sorts.
Oh, the list goes on and on.
A lot of activity here today. A lot of activity. A lot of Elizabeth Warren signs. Lewis is going to go ahead and get parked, and then we'll go ahead and get him voting. I don't know.
This looks like a good spot.
Well, I wouldn't park next to that guy. He doesn't take care of his car.
We're good.
All right, here we go. Lewis voted. There we go.
Leave it on for a second. Okay.
All right, there we go. Natan apparently unaware that we have live microphones in the studio here and shouting commands from the back room with no regard for the production of this program. So, Lewis, how does it feel to have voted? Is it good?
I guess. I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I know that my vote may be inconsequential, considering the state we're in, and I had previously factored that into my decision not to vote.
Okay.
But I know that I should set a better example, really.
That's exactly right.
I really should. And thank you.
No, I think that's the exact right attitude, and
Right.
Congratulations, Lewis. A couple quick notes. Number one, tonight, starting around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be broadcasting live from an Elizabeth Warren event. Lewis will be there, right?
I'll be there.
We will be bringing you live election results. I will have, hopefully, all sorts of technological implements at my disposal to bring you election results. So please tune in live on YouTube. Another note, the YouTube chat is working. You just have to scroll down, all the way down on the right side. We don't know why. It's a YouTube-wide problem. Hopefully it will be resolved. But there is YouTube chat going on. You just have to scroll down. Turnout. At my polling location, turnout was bigger than ever of any election that I voted in. Lewis, your sense was it was also very busy. You voted at the same place as Natan. He indicated it was packed.
Yes, it was very busy.
Natan, what do you think this is an indicator of?
It may only be an indicator of the Elizabeth Warren Scott Brown Senate race in Massachusetts that has people fired up, or it could be just the fact that voter turnout's going to be up across the country.
Right. So we will continue to look. We'll talk later to Franco Ripple in Florida. We have people on the ground all over the country, really just mostly in Florida, but they're all over technically. And we'll see exactly what's going on there. This video surfaced at the beginning of today on Reddit, alleging Pennsylvania touchscreen voting machines altering votes, specifically when you tap Barack Obama's name, placing a vote for Mitt Romney. Now, we've now gotten more information about what's going on here, the validity of these claims. Let me first just play the video for you here, and we don't need the audio here. We can just show the video. And as you can see, touchscreen voting, the individual appears to hit Barack Obama, and it selects Mitt Romney, which is above, and presumably that's that. Let me get you one more look at it, just to give you just one more chance to take a look at it. And appearing to press Barack Obama, this is a voter claiming to be in Pennsylvania, and it is selecting Mitt Romney. Now, right away, people started going crazy over this, obviously. I did a clip earlier today about it, and we discussed it. There's a lot of questionable things that popped up right away. Number one, that the Reddit account that it had been posted from was created only specifically to post this video. Number two, that the voter wasn't identifying himself. Number three, that the timing of the post suggested that the video had already been taken before the polls opened, or at least posted within seconds of the poll opening. Now, that being said, mainstream media started reaching out to this individual, who is, as of now, still unidentified to me. I'm not sure who he is. I don't know what's going on here. If this is a legitimate video, in other words, if the camera, not realizing the illegitimacy, did not shut the recording down, reminiscent of Todd Aiken, we also don't know if it's just a simple calibration issue. The narrative that the individual posted with his YouTube video said it is not simply calibration, because when I hit Jill Stein, it did select Jill Stein. So it wasn't that the entire calibration was simply off by an inch or a centimeter or whatever it may have been. I don't know. This is exactly what we were expecting, so it's very easy to get people to buy into it. Is it a practical joke? Is it absolutely honest? We just don't know right now.
I think in general, if you're going to attempt this voter fraud, what you're going to do is you're not going to sabotage every machine, right? Because that would just be way too obvious. You're going to do a few machines here and there.
At the same time, though, the other argument is if you're going to tamper with the machines, you don't need to tamper on the front end. Make it so that the person thinks they voted for Obama, but do the tampering on the back end. That's one argument, Natan, that I've been hearing, which is if you're good enough to mess with these machines, make it so the voter doesn't even realize it.
Right. So we don't know if this video is legitimate. It may not be. And even if it is, it's unlikely to change the outcome of the election. But Certainly, this is probably going on at other places across the country. Let's just hope it's not significant.
All right, well, there's that. Fox News said that there was an intimidating guy, in other words, he's black, monitoring a polling place. Here is the video of Fox News saying, look at this guy, he is so intimidating in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He is monitoring the polling place. Really what they're saying is people are scared because he's black. Watch this, it's incredible.
Fox News alert, it's election day, and we got some new video we just showed you of a member of the new Black Panther Party standing guard outside a polling place in Philadelphia. I don't know. The organization claims they are monitoring the 2012 election, but some critics say that looks like intimidation, like in...
It looks like intimidation because the guy is black? Is that why? I don't know. Now, I'm going to be very clear here. I am not a fan of the new Black Panther Party. I'm being completely open and honest about that. That being said, we have no reason to think that this individual is not actually an election monitor and that he is doing the exact same thing that yesterday on Fox News, Brian Kilmeade suggested Republicans do. Show up and intimidate people. I guess Fox News only gives advice for what Republicans can do, and that advice is completely does not apply to Democrats.
Yeah, I will say that the garb chosen is rather militant by the new Black Panthers. So someone could easily get the idea that the intent here is intimidation.
No, I agree. You know, like I said, I'm not a fan of the new Black Panther Party, and the idea of having these uniforms. I don't subscribe to any of it. But Fox News picking this one guy who we have no reason to think is not an actual election monitor and saying he is standing guard and intimidating seems completely race-based, because Fox News was recommending Republicans do this, Natan, right? I mean, this is such cherry picking.
Yeah, on the one hand, it's racist, just pretty clearly, but then separately from that, it's the fact that, you know, the big issue in this election, if there is fraud of any kind, it's the voter suppression that's going on in a number of states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, to get minorities not to vote. This is pretty much irrelevant.
The last of our concerns are one guy intimidating white voters in Pennsylvania not to vote. Give me a break, Fox News.
All right.
Let's do our election predictions. Let's start with our maps. Natan, please, let's start with your map. Let's put Natan's electoral map prediction up on the board.
Right.
So a pretty standard map. Let's focus on the differences here. Natan giving Ohio to President Obama and Florida to Mitt Romney. Natan, you say Virginia will go to President Obama, whereas North Carolina will stick with Romney as predicted in most polls. Otherwise, you say Nevada will be for President Obama, Arizona staying with, as predicted in most polls, with Mitt Romney. Your total here is Obama 303, Romney 235. Anything you want to say about your predictions, Natan?
No, this is pretty much what the poll aggregators are saying will happen. Virginia is, you know, Obama's not a huge favorite there, and Romney's not a huge favorite in Florida. But this is just, you know, the most conservative estimate of what's going to happen.
All right, let's go to producer Louis Motamedy's electoral map prediction, and we will see where it differs with Natan's. Producer Louis giving Colorado to Mitt Romney. Interesting. Why did you decide to do that, Louis?
Why? Good question. Because I did this in a hurry. That's why.
I see. Well, this is a great explanation.
But we have to factor in voter fraud as well.
We do certainly have to.
So I've decided to throw that in random places just as a variable.
So maybe because of that weird voter registration fiasco that took place in Colorado with the people not identifying themselves properly, you're saying maybe there it's going to go to Romney.
Right.
Now, Florida, you are giving to President Obama, although Virginia, you are giving to Mitt Romney. Interesting. The reverse of Natan there. And you think President Obama may pull it out in North Carolina. Do you believe that the black vote maybe has been understated there?
It's possible.
All right. So Lewis's total, 319 for Obama and 219 for Mitt Romney. There is the producer Louis map. And Natan, please, let's put up my map here. I am going with a map that is very, very similar to TV director Natan's. However,
you're giving Obama everything.
I have decided, I had a map put together last night, and I decided to make one change today. And that change is simply based on some new polling. Florida was really close to a toss-up. Nate Silver had it at 54% probability of going to Mitt Romney up until today. New polls yesterday showed some strengthening in Ohio for President Obama, which I already had going to President Obama. but also in Florida, making President Obama the slight favorite, about a 52-53% chance of taking Florida. I understand the voter suppression concerns there. I also understand that there are a number of other factors there, including the growth of the non-Cuban Hispanic vote, which we'll talk to Franco Ripple about a little later, and many other things. So I am going with President Obama in Florida. And I have a final count of 332 for President Obama, 206 for Mitt Romney. Now, the most aggressive for President Obama is actually Lewis, right? At 339, was it, Natan?
Yeah, I believe so.
339.
Let's put it back up there.
Me with 332, and then Natan last.
303.
319.
No, mine was 303.
And Natan with 303. There we go. So those are our predictions. Not a huge difference here. Again, unless the polls are drastically wrong, this is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of what's going on. Let's take a break. After the break, we will check in with Luke Vargas at Mitt Romney campaign headquarters. We'll check in with Franco Ripple in line to vote, or with voters at least, in Florida. Plenty more. Stay tuned. Election Day today.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Please remember to do all of your Amazon.com shopping through the black banner at davidpakman.com. Click it, bookmark it, use it every time you shop. You can also become a David Pakman Show member, made possible in part by liberalbias.com. You ever notice that there are more left arrow traffic lights than right arrow traffic lights? Everyone knows left means liberal, so I think this is another sign of liberal bias. You can find out more about that at liberalbias.com. Today's new member of the day, Robert Kenmore. It's great to have Robert Kenmore aboard. Every single David Pakman Show member is helping to add new features, like the commercial-free version of the show for members, like the YouTube live stream, all of those things. Go to davidpakman.com/membership to sign up, and let's check in with our correspondents on the ground. It is Election Day, after all. All right, first let's go to Florida, where we'll check in with Franco Ripple, Vice President of Communications for the Florida Young Democrats. Franco is at a polling place. Franco, you've been checking out the situation all day. We're hearing about long lines in Florida. Give us a sense of what's happening on the ground.
That's right, David. Hey, thanks for having me back on the show. So, you know, Florida obviously is a pivotal state, 29 electoral votes at stake, and both sides are trying very hard to make everyone count. The latest calculus I'm sure you've seen on the venerable Nate Silver has it nearly deadlocked at, I think, 49.7 to each side. So it's really a ground game. What we're seeing here, I'm going to try to show you, there's a pretty decent turnout over here at this precinct. This is on the east side of St. Petersburg, which is one of the main cities in Pinellas County, which is just across the bridge from Tampa and Hillsborough. It's part of the Tampa Bay area. We've seen consistent, steady lines here. Tampa, across the bridge, has had 3- and 4-hour lines. We're having reports of 3- to 4-hour lines all across the state, and that's following an early voting session, which was shortened this year to a week, but in which Democrats dominated and currently hold a 167,000 vote lead across the state.
Incredible. So anecdotally, here in Massachusetts, we're seeing, all of our staff is seeing bigger turnouts than we can ever remember at our respective polling places. Here it may be because of enthusiasm over Elizabeth Warren and the opportunity to get Scott Brown out of office. Are you seeing, like, how does this compare with past elections? Is this unusually high turnout?
Well, it's incredible, actually, because, you know, everyone has said that there's going to be this enthusiasm gap, both for reelecting the president here, as we did in 2008, and on Mitt Romney's side, still struggling to win over a lot of core conservatives. That's actually not happening on either side, because there's record-breaking absentee ballot requests. There's record-breaking early vote turnout, and it's projected that in a lot of counties and a lot of precincts, you're going to see record-breaking turnout at the polls themselves. So really, there doesn't seem to be an enthusiasm gap, but you know, one thing that's really buoying the confidence of Democrats is that we're going in with a pretty phenomenal lead of that 167,000 votes. I will tell you, speaking of anecdotes, one concerning thing here in Pinellas County, the supervisor of elections, which is a Republican, did send out a robocall either last night or this morning, letting voters know to vote tomorrow. So it went out this morning.
You've got to be kidding me.
It was indicating that, and nobody knows the universe of people that received this call, but it was at least in the hundreds of voters, if not the thousands, we believe, that we're told to vote by 7 p.m. tomorrow. So the Obama campaign has been doing its job, alerting the media and trying to make sure that that is in fact corrected, and everybody knows, be in line by 7 p.m. today, election day, to make your vote count.
Hey, is it possible that it was that it was intended to go out before midnight yesterday, meaning tomorrow would have been today, the actual election day, and some of those voters simply got it after midnight, kind of implying tomorrow means Wednesday? Is that possible?
It's hard to say. I can't speculate, what the Supervisor of Elections office was trying to do. I know I received today a robocall from the Supervisor of Elections office reminding me to turn in my absentee ballot, which I haven't had a chance to do yet. So there are legitimate robocalls going out, but obviously this has Democrats very concerned, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And this is on top of, it's not just Republican supervisors of elections that may be having some issues. It's happening in other counties too. Broward County has had reports of I think this gentleman said he just had a bad voting experience, so it could be terrible, he says. There are reports of broken machines and all kinds of irregularities happening all around the state. So it's going to remain close, not only because of turnout and ground game, but because of mistakes once again.
Unbelievable. Hey, last thing, Franco, we've been talking about the possible underestimation of the Latino vote. Now, Florida is the one state in the country that has a more conservative-leaning Latino vote because of the Cuban influence. But that being said, also speculation that non-Cuban Florida Hispanic Democrats may be underestimated. What's your sense of that, given your knowledge of Florida?
Well, I can tell you that the Democratic Party here in Florida has worked really hard at organizing the Hispanic vote, and that includes Cubans, because Barack Obama did win Miami-Dade County with, I believe it was 66% of the vote in 2008, and that's on the back of especially younger Cubans who are willing to give a Democrat a chance for the first time in a generation. So I think Cubans are going to surprise a lot of folks and still consider voting for this president pretty strongly. In other news, all across the state, it's the Puerto Rican community that is heavily Democratic and has been heavily organized by this party, including having a full-time Hispanic outreach coordinator to really get to those folks. And it's having an impact. Over in Orlando, there's a state house race, District 49, that is pitting a Puerto Rican Republican against a Democrat in a heavily Democratic district. And they're having some traction because of that. But it's Puerto Rican Democrats are going to help carry the day for Hispanics, for Democrats in Florida.
All right, we've been speaking with Franco Ripple. Franco, out of curiosity, what's the temperature there today?
Temperature this morning was nice, about 64 degrees. It's warming up as I stand here right now. I will tell you that it was raining in Pinellas County earlier this morning. That obviously dampened some turnout, I think, a little bit. We still saw long lines at a lot of precincts, but the weather right now is probably about 72 degrees. It's slightly sunny, so we're looking forward to a good rest of the day with good weather. All
right, 19 degrees here in the morning when I woke up and went to vote. Franco Ripple, Vice President of Communications for the Florida Young Democrats. Franco, thanks as always. We'll keep an eye on Florida all night, of course.
All right, David, thanks.
Now to Luke Vargas, political correspondent for Talk Radio News Service. He is at Mitt Romney's national headquarters here in Massachusetts. He's been spending some time in New Hampshire at Mitt Romney's event last night with Kid Rock, also at a Bill Clinton joint event in Concord, New Hampshire a couple of days ago. What are these events like, Luke? I mean, are they different? Obviously, it's a different constituency, but is it the same kind of attitude from the candidates? Give us a little bit of a sense.
Well, the event with the two presidents on Sunday was sort of a very stately event. Introductory speeches from the congressional delegation and the governor of New Hampshire, outdoor rally in front of a nice old State House building. 14,000 people. The Obama campaign was very quick to advertise that number and say this is a state record. We've never been able to draw this many supporters to an event, especially one so early in the morning in New Hampshire. And then the expectation that Romney's event yesterday would be sort of lackluster by comparison, not true at all. Inside the Verizon Wireless Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire, 12,000 people turned out last night. And I had this strange feeling as I went into that event and saw Kid Rock playing and listened to Brad Paisley and some other country music singers singers play over the PA with songs like Old Alabama that referenced driving through Tennessee, and Kid Rock singing about smoking funny stuff and making sweet love by the lake. And I'm thinking, this is a campaign that 12 months ago, a year ago in New Hampshire, was at the Peterborough Town Hall, a very quaint old place where the emphasis was on the elegant crown moldings and the sort of New England vibes of the Romney campaign. And now, after spending so much time in Ohio, Virginia, Florida, this campaign has really taken on this sort of country attitude. And last night's event was, it didn't feel New Englandy at all, really.
So Nate Silver's 538.com blog has, as of right now, an 84.6% chance of winning for President Obama in New Hampshire. So it seems that it's funny because these individual rallies, whether you can get 12 or 14 or 18,000 people to one particular rally, not necessarily connected to the actual chances in the state. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. And there's one thing that is pretty common at all Barack Obama rallies and rallies for any of his Democratic surrogates in New Hampshire. It's that volunteers soliciting information from supporters and getting people to sign up for volunteer times on Election Day are pretty much ubiquitous at all these Democratic events. Once Mitt Romney wound down at just after midnight last night, very late, there was no one outside, just sort of those people who are always hawking campaign buttons and things like that. So on one hand, yes, it is all about crowd numbers, but it's what you do with those numbers that matters more. Just judging from the events over the past 2 days, it looks like the president may be linking up those large crowd sizes with volunteer participation, and that would perhaps put him over the top, as Nate Silver was predicting.
What exactly is happening at Romney campaign headquarters, and what do you anticipate will happen throughout the night as results come in? Is Mitt Romney going to be there? I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Well, he voted in my neighboring town of Belmont, Massachusetts, just before 9 a.m. this morning, and then kissed goodbye to his wife and sons and was off to campaign in Ohio and Pennsylvania. I think his plane gets into here at around 6 p.m. tonight, and I guess whenever the votes are conclusive, he'll speak upstairs in a ballroom. But for now, just lots of sort of press filing centers, CBS and NBC just across the hall from me here. So people pretty much trying to find excuses to leave this venue at the moment and go and shoot stories around Boston and the greater parts of the state, because there's really not too much going on here.
What time does George W. Bush arrive?
Right. Maybe I'll stop going to polling locations and covering the Warren Brown race and just do a permanent stakeout for him, because I'm sure he'll be coming through any time.
All right, so there it is. Luke Vargas, political correspondent for Talk Radio News Service. He is at Mitt Romney's national campaign headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts. A lot of activity. We will see what happens. We will start to see the numbers come in really just hours from now. And Luke, we'll keep in touch. Thanks as always for your great reporting.
All right, Dave, take care.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be back with plenty more after this, including Bill Scher and the case for the 2012 election. Stay tuned.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Joining us for the last-minute check-in before the election today is Bill Scher of Campaign for America's Future, liberaloasis.com. Also, the Liberal Oasis radio show, filmed here at the David Pakman Show studios. You can check that out on YouTube at youtube.com/liberaloasistv. Well, Bill, it's been a long campaign. We've talked about the polls, we've talked about the issues, we've talked about the lies and the voter suppression attempts. Where are we at right now? I mean, it's just, is it, I don't even know. What can be said at this point?
Well, I think what we've seen is after a hiccup in the middle of October, where Mitt Romney blurred the ideological distinctions between the candidates, which allowed him to tighten up the race from where it was in September, where Obama was pulling away. I think Obama's been able to clarify and crystallize the choice in the race with the second and the third debates, with the final stumping. And then, of course, you have the ultimate test with Hurricane Sandy, putting in stark relief the difference between a president that takes government seriously and a president that doesn't. And so the whole narrative of Romney suggesting that Obama doesn't know how to lead, doesn't know how to run things, is in over his head, that's all undercut by the Hurricane Sandy response. So I think you're seeing in some of the last polling, some movement Obama's way, and some polls pulling away from a dead heat race nationally, and the state-by-state polls had always been in Obama's corner. That never really changed throughout the month of October. So things looking pretty good for Obama today.
Assess what we've been talking about in studio for a couple of weeks now, which is what may be a Republican strategy to pretend like they're ahead. And this is basically the strategy of taking one or two outlier polls and basically blasting them as everything from Fox News alerts to Drudge Report splashes. Everything from Mitt Romney is now potentially tied or up in Pennsylvania, Michigan, right? Everything that goes completely against the average of all polling, but really fixating on that. Is this a strategy, the idea that if you make people think that you have a shot, that they're more likely to vote for you? What's the strategy there?
Well, you go to war with the army you have, to quote Donald Rumsfeld, and if all you have left is a couple outlier polls, that's what you use. If everyone thinks you're a sure loser, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They have to do that. They have to put out whatever information they can cobble together to show they do have a chance. I don't fault them for that. If they didn't have that, they'd be totally sunk. But in the most recent poll that I saw, when they asked, I think it was a CNN poll, who do you think is going to win? Obama's up there by 20 points. And that's one of the things that feeds my notion that it's not going to be that close on Election Day. I think there's going to be a certain bandwagon effect at the end of the day where some of those undecideds move to Obama. And that's not just a psychological thing. I want to be with the winner. I think it is. I want a president that has a mandate. I want a president with the public backing to act. I don't want another 2 years of constant gridlock. If they think Obama is going to be that person, they want to give that person, a real public oomph, so he can go into a second term with a real head of steam.
Well, I like that you brought that up, because yesterday we talked about the Brookings Institute study of polls, and it reveals that polls asking what is the prediction of what you think will happen rather than what is your intention, rather than who will you vote for, who do you think will win, they are significantly more accurate, and in this particular case show, if that holds true, that President Obama is much further ahead than the actual polls of intention give him credit for.
I mean, I wouldn't overinterpret it. I mean, I don't think that 20-point number means a 20-point victory.
No, certainly not.
But I do think it does speak to a general desire in the public to come together at the end if possible. If the coverage at the end was nothing but dead heat. We've had close races before. It's not like it's impossible to occur. But we did see with Bush-Kerry, for example, a lot of dead heat polling at the end. But there's still this perception that Bush was going to win, and he did get the extra bump at the very end, I think, because of that. So that's where I generally think the race is at. I don't think Romney ever was able to stoke enough antipathy towards Obama. People might have been frustrated at certain points, disappointed in certain areas. Obviously, no one, whether you're for Obama or not, wants everything to remain just as it is right now. But they never were able to make people really angry at Obama as far as those in the middle of the country are concerned. And that's why, and they certainly weren't able to make anyone think that bringing back Bush-style policies from the last decade was the right way to go. I don't think Romney ever was able to really draw a break from himself and Bush, and wasn't able to engender a lot of anger towards Obama. At the end of the day, that's going to be his failing.
I want to get to your predictions, but real quick before getting to that, the effect of voter ID, voter suppression, possible election fraud, is that a factor here? Is it not close enough that it's going to matter? How do you assess that?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be significant. There's always ticky-tack voter suppression in every election. That's the phony flyers, the wrong polling locations, and the nefarious phone calling. All that stuff always happens. The voter ID laws was a new tack, but most of those have been blocked or overturned. So and so most of the swing states, that's not going to be a major issue. The last thing you're seeing that's really low is what's going on in Florida with the early voting. And hey, that might dampen things in Florida. I can't fully predict. But for the most part, you're not seeing anything that systemic happening on a state-by-state basis in the states that matter.
All right, Bill Sherritt, let's hear your prediction for tonight.
Well, I'm always an optimist. Again, to take my logic to its farthest extent, I think Obama gets 52% of the vote and 347 electoral votes, which essentially means sweeping all of all the swing states. That I would totally concede that that's a high watermark. If you were going to be a safer betting person, I would say 303 electoral votes and maybe more like 50% popular vote. That would mean Romney winning Florida and North Carolina, but losing the rest. But I like to go big, so I'm at 347.
All right, and will we know the results before or after midnight Eastern time?
Well, if I'm correct, then it's 347. Then you'll know before midnight. If it's more like a 50% popular vote, and that means a lot of those swing states are closer votes too, that's probably going to go into the wee hours.
All right, Bill Scher, Campaign for America's Future, liberaloasis.com, and the Liberal Oasis radio show on YouTube now, filmed at David Pakman Show Studios, youtube.com/liberaloasistv. It's all happening, Bill Scher. We'll see you tonight, and we'll hope for the best. I think we've said it all at this point.
Hey, take care.
All right, thanks. Stay tuned. We'll be back with plenty more after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
No matter who wins today, or whenever we find out about the winner of this presidential campaign, the next 4 years, we are going to absolutely need strong, independent media. So please become a David Pakman Show member at davidpakman.com/membership. Let's talk about this election. It's been months. We've been going through the ins and outs of the candidates. We've been going through so many different stories, all sorts of minutia, everything up and down, haven't we, Lewis?
Minutia, manure, whatever you want to call it.
We're at a point where, let me backtrack. In 2004, many people always try to argue this is a particularly important election. Back in 2004, with George W. Bush and John Kerry, not everybody really believed that that was a particularly important election. Some people did, some people didn't. In 2008, same thing. If you are a progressive right now, we are really at a potential turning point. Let me explain why. If President Obama wins today, he will likely go down in history as one of the most effective and accomplished presidents, just looking at the magnitude and number of things he's accomplished. Obamacare, the huge stimulus, stopping a straight-down recession brought on by the previous president, ending 2 wars, getting the terrorist responsible for one of the biggest foreign terrorist attacks on American soil ever.
And if we see continued success from the American auto industry, that as well.
Rescuing one of the most important industries in the United States. If President Obama loses tonight, he will likely be regarded as another one-term president who just wasn't able to get himself reelected. Let's talk about Mitt Romney. If Mitt Romney wins, that means you can lie your way to the top. You can hide your blatantly anti-American past of hiding money offshore, shipping jobs overseas, and making money off of the backs of the middle class you claim to care about. That's not good. We can't have that. And beyond what this means about these specific candidates, President Obama or Mitt Romney, forget about them. If in either case, this is both of their last campaigns, as we've heard. Beyond what it means about the candidates, this election could be a turning point in pushing out the right-wing conservative ideas that we've been working for so long to eliminate. The militant anti-choice, anti-gay ideas, the worldview that rejects or is skeptical of science, the side of politics that believes that the only government spending we should ever increase is defense, weapons, and wars. We have a chance to push that out. We've made progress because and in spite of President Obama's first term on health care, on gay marriage, in so many other areas. If President Obama wins, he will appoint 1 or 2 Supreme Court justices that aren't going to look to overturn Roe v. Wade. We will lock in Obamacare if President Obama is reelected. We will protect it from Republican threats to overturn it or repeal it or replace it or whatever it is they want to do. And by 2016, the demographics of this country will have shifted in 2 ways that will make it even more difficult for right-wing insanity to continue. Number one, Hispanic voters will make up even more of the population, such that the Republican failsafe of relying on white male voters will mathematically be so difficult that it's not going to be viable. It will force the Republican Party to change. Number two, the aging out of many of these regressive ideas is going to be replaced by young liberal voters who grew up in a world where a black president and same-sex parents are so last week that they're barely even worth discussing. Gay marriage, education, healthcare, foreign policy, reasonable drug policy, these are all on the table as moving in the progressive direction if President Obama is reelected. Now, if Mitt Romney wins, his Supreme Court appointments are going to open up the door to overturning Roe v. Wade. They're going to continue to stifle gay rights, stifle spending on education, going back to the George W. Bush times where the world laughed at us. We know those policies don't work. Today is the day. We are hours away from the first results. The way I see this is, as progressives, we're pushing a boulder up a mountain. And we have to push the boulder whether it's President Obama or Mitt Romney or George Bush or whoever. But do we get closer to pushing it over the edge and starting the downhill roll in the next 4 years? Or do we let it roll back even further? That's really the question here. Your thoughts, Lewis?
Very inspirational speech, David. Nicely done.
Thank you.
We're not just counting on the presidential election, of course. A Democratic majority in Congress would be just as good as a Barack Obama win, and insanely important because with all the opposition, if it's a Republican-controlled Congress, I mean, who knows what we'll be able to accomplish.
Natan, your thoughts?
Yeah, just about Obama's second term. I mean, he has the possibility here to, as the economy improves, to really tamp down on the deficit, which will be another lasting legacy. Maybe try to set the country on the path to where Bill Clinton was when he left his presidency. Obviously, we're not going to be quite there. And then maybe have a comprehensive immigration reform. That would be huge. And then if he really wanted to go for the double touchdown, I don't think this is going to happen, but if he actually tackled campaign finance reform in a bipartisan basis, that would be truly historic.
That would require a Democratic majority.
We are already seeing the initial wins of what I'm talking about here. The Justice Department has okayed new arguments in a healthcare lawsuit. The Justice Department has said it does not object to a brand new round of legal arguments over Obamacare. Now, this was a brief filed by a lawsuit filed by Liberty University. Now, as we know, Liberty University is this private Christian university in Virginia founded by Jerry Falwell. And this is one of the most extreme groups out there. They're an incredibly dangerous group, and they are actually objecting to Obamacare on different grounds. We already know the Supreme Court has ruled that health care and the individual mandate is constitutional. Liberty University is challenging it again on different grounds, on the grounds that it would force religious organizations to comply with this employer mandate, and it would not allow them to protect their religious held beliefs. Now, the Justice Department has said it does not object to this. This is a key thing. This could make it back to the Supreme Court, and depending on who the next president is, we could have very different results. This matters. This makes a difference. On drug policy, 3 U.S. states are poised to legalize marijuana in defiance of the war on drugs. Washington, Oregon, and Colorado today are voting on whether to decriminalize marijuana. Here in Massachusetts, we have already voted to decriminalize marijuana, and today we actually voted already, Lewis, on medical marijuana. This is a step in the direction of starting to get more reasonable drug policy in this country. The president will make a difference. Romney and Obama have very different views on these things. The idea that there is no difference, we see it with these two examples.
I would like to think that Obama will be a bit more like the president we wanted him to be originally when he doesn't have to worry about running again. We'll see.
We will see. Tonight, it is election night. Starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, we will be broadcasting live from an Elizabeth Warren event here in Massachusetts. Live election results. The whole team will be there in partnership with Northampton Community Television, our local affiliate. If you haven't voted, this is the time to vote. Lewis voted. Natan voted. I voted today. What will happen tonight, we don't know. My hope is that we know before midnight. I am optimistic that we are going to have a strong performance from President Obama. What will the effect of the voting machine stuff be? What will happen? I don't know. But I hope you're there with us tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe at davidpakman.com/membership. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. Who knows what things will be like? Thanks for watching.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.